Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling a pretty big question. What's the economic payoff when the United States invests in biomedical science?
Right. And our goal isn't just, celebrating the health breakthroughs, which are obviously vital.
Absolutely.
We want to really dig into how funding medical research acts as this powerful engine for the American economy, creating, well, sometimes unexpected, but significant returns.
Exactly. We've gathered a whole lot of expert reports, data, trying to quantify this. And just to give you a sense of the scale here, in 2020 alone, the U.S. poured a massive $245.1 billion into medical and health R&D.
That's a huge number.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, right, where did all that money go and what are we actually getting back economically beyond the new medicines?
Yeah, beyond the obvious health benefits. Let's unpack that.
Let's do it.
All right, so laying the groundwork. Where does the funding for this biomedical research mainly come from? We know that $245 billion in 2020, that's big. And overall R&D across everything hit like $885.6 billion in 2022. But for biomedical specifically, who are the key players investing?
Well, the public sector is, a really crucial foundation, the National Institutes of Health. The NIH, that's the big one.
Right.
And fiscal year 24, they awarded over $36.9 billion in grants. But here's the interesting part.
Okay.
For every single dollar the NIH invests, it's estimated to generate something like $2.56 in economic activity.
Wow. Okay. $2.56 back for every dollar.
Yeah, think of it like a ripple effect spreading out.
That sounds like a pretty smart investment, doesn't it? And I noticed NIH funding has actually been going up recently.
It has, yeah. It's increased by more than $17 billion since fiscal year 2015.
$17 billion.
That kind of growth really highlights, strong agreement across the political spectrum about how important this is. For health, yes, but also for the economy. It's seen as a win-win.
That's good to hear. But are there, potential roadblocks, anything that could slow this down?
Well, the reports do mention potential future budget constraints as a risk.
Oh.
If funding doesn't keep pace, it could affect the U.S.'s leadership position in this field. So, yeah, something to watch.
Right.
And, it's important to remember, while NIH is the biggest public player, other agencies like the National Science Foundation, NSF, they also contribute to science research, including areas relevant to biomedicine.
Got it. So public sector is key. What about the private side? Pharma, biotech, medical device companies, they invest a ton too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
A huge amount. In 2020, private sector investment hit $161.8 billion.
No.
Their focus tends to be more on, let's say, applied research and development, taking those basic discoveries often funded publicly.
And turning them into actual products, like drugs or new tech.
Exactly, building on that public groundwork. And that private investment is growing fast, too, jumped over 42% just between 2016 and 2020.
Okay, so lots of money coming in from both public and private sources. But how do we actually measure the economic impact? Is it just guesswork or is there a system?
Oh, there's definitely a system. It's quite robust, actually. Multiple reports consistently show a significant positive return.
Right.
Like we mentioned, that United for Medical Research report for 2025 found that $2.56 economic activity for every NIH dollar.
That number guy.
Yeah. And the Science Coalition, also in a 2025 report, they really emphasized the powerful returns from federally funded basic research, which includes, a big chunk of biomedical science.
So that $2.56 multiplier, what makes it so significant? What kind of activities does that actually represent downstream?
Well, it covers a whole range of things. It's not just the salaries for researchers. It's their spending in local economies. It's the companies supplying labs. It's new companies spinning out.
Oh, the whole ecosystem.
Exactly. It's a cascading effect.
Yeah.
And this isn't new. If you look back, government R&D investments since World War II, they've often shown returns in the range of, say, 150% to 300%.
Wow, 150 to 300% historically, that's impressive.
It really underscores the long-term benefits.
Can you give us a really concrete example, something where the investment clearly paid off big time economically?
The Human Genome Project is probably the classic example.
Yes.
The U.S. government put in about $3.8 billion between 1988 and 2003.
Okay.
Now get this. One study estimated that investment sparked about $796 billion in economic impact.
Wait, hold on. $3.8 billion in, $796 billion out.
And generated $244 billion in personal income on top of that.
That's, what is that, 141-fold return? That's incredible.
It's astonishing, isn't it? It fueled huge growth in biotech, pharma, diagnostics, with genetic testing, targeted therapy.
Right, it opened up whole new fields.
Exactly. New companies, high-paying jobs, all built on that initial investment. And that's just one example. NIH funding is behind breakthroughs in cancer, antibiotics, vision repair, all with big economic ripples.
So how do economists actually calculate these huge ripple effects? What tools do they use? It sounds complex.
It is complex, but they use established methods. They look at jobs created, the value of new economic output, and those multiplier effects we talked about.
Okay.
They often use models like RIMS, the Regional Input-Output Modeling System. It helps trace how money invested in research flows through related sectors, suppliers, local shops, services.
That makes sense. It tracks the money as it moves through the economy. We actually have some summary data here. UMR's 2025 report, again, that $2.56 multiplier, leading to $94.58 billion in total economic activity and supporting over 407,000 jobs, just from NIH investment.
Those are really significant numbers, yeah. And the Science Coalition data points in the same direction, that multiplier effect, substantial job creation from federal research investment across science, including biomedical.
Let's focus on those jobs for a second. It really sounds like biomedical research is a major jobs engine.
Oh, it absolutely is. Like you said, NIH funding alone supported over 407,000 jobs in FY24.
And that's not just scientists.
Not at all.
All right.
Researchers, yes, but also technicians, admin staff at universities, people working for supply companies, local businesses benefiting from all that activity. It's a wide net.
Right. And beyond the research institutions themselves, what about the big industries built on these discoveries? Pharma, medical devices.
Huge employers. Take the biopharmaceutical industry. Back in 2017, it directly employed over 811,000 people in the U.S.
Wow.
And if you count indirect jobs, people working for suppliers, related services, that number jumps to 3.2 million.
3.2 million.
Yeah. And the medical device industry adds nearly another 2 million total jobs, with over 500,000 being direct jobs in that sector.
Those are really substantial numbers. And I remember reading something about the bioscience industry being pretty resilient, employment-wise.
That's right. It actually grew employment by 1.4% in 2021, when the overall private sector actually declined.
Interesting.
And long-term, look at this. Between 2002 and 2022, the number of life sciences researchers grew by 87%. Compare that to just 14% growth across all U.S. jobs.
87% versus 14%, that shows real dynamism.
It really does.
So it's providing jobs now, and it looks like a sector with strong growth ahead. What about unemployment rates in these fields?
Generally, unemployment for people in life, physical, and social sciences is notably low. It suggests a steady, strong demand for those skills.
Okay, looking forward then, what are the job growth projections? Where are we likely to see increases?
The outlook's pretty positive. Medical scientists, their employment is projected to grow 11% between 2023 and 2033. That's much faster than average.
11%.
Yeah, translating to about 8,900 openings each year. Biomedical engineers, also faster than average growth, projected at 7%.
And what's driving that growth?
Well, think about it. An aging population, more chronic diseases needing management, constant advances in medical tech. It all requires more skilled people.
Right, makes sense. So strong employment now, strong growth projected. Let's widen the lens again. How does all this activity contribute to the overall U.S. economy, to the GDP?
It's a significant contributor, absolutely. NIH investment directly fuels the research side and the biotech sector. The U.S. biomedical industry overall adds over $69 billion to GDP annually. And if you look broader at the private sector impact in 2020, biomedical and pharma together generated over $1.4 trillion in economic output.
1.4 trillion. That's massive. And you mentioned biopharma and medical tech specifically contributing heavily there too.
Definitely. Biopharma alone in 2017 had a direct output of $560 billion.
Okay.
But when you factor in all the indirect activity, the total economic output was over $1.1 trillion.
Wow.
The value added just by that industry was over $625 billion. That was 3.2% of the entire U.S. GDP that year.
3% of GDP from just biopharma.
And medical technology adds another $381 billion in total economic output annually.
So the big picture view, healthcare with biomedical science as a core part, is just a huge slice of the American economy.
A very big slice. In 2023, total health spending was $4.9 trillion. That's 17.6% of GDP.
Nearly 18%.
And it's projected to grow, maybe hitting almost 20% of GDP by 2032.
Yeah.
Really shows how central this sector is.
We've hit jobs, GDP. What about the other side of the coin? Can biomedical research actually lead to savings on healthcare costs in the long run?
That's a really crucial point. Yes, absolutely. Biomedical research develops not just treatments, but preventive measures, too.
Right, prevention.
And prevention can lead to huge savings down the line. Investing in research on disease prevention, things that extend healthy lifespans, that reduces the need for costly interventions later.
Can you give some concrete examples? Where has NIH research led to actual cost savings?
Sure. Think about vaccines for infectious diseases. Huge impact. They've drastically cut down on illnesses that used to mean expensive hospital stays, lost work.
Like polio, measles.
Exactly. Or think about better ways to manage chronic conditions, diabetes, heart disease. Research helps prevent costly complications like kidney failure or heart attacks. And a very recent dramatic example, the COVID-19 mRNA vaccines. A huge initial investment, yes, but estimated to have saved hundreds of billions in direct healthcare costs globally, not to mention millions of lives.
That's a powerful case. I also saw the term cost-effectiveness analysis mentioned. How does that fit in?
CEA. Cost-effectiveness analysis is basically a tool to figure out the economic value of new treatments or technologies.
Okay.
It compares the cost of something new against the health benefits it provides, often measured in things like QALIs, quality-adjusted life years gained.
Quality-adjusted life years.
Right, and they calculate something called the ICR, the incremental cost-effectiveness ratio. It helps decide if the extra cost of a new intervention is worth the extra health benefit you get.
So it helps guide decisions on where to spend healthcare money wisely.
Exactly. It informs policy, resource allocation, trying to get the most health bang for the buck, essentially.
Okay, that makes sense. Shifting gears slightly, how do these health improvements translate into broader economic productivity?
Oh, there's a pretty direct link.
Yeah.
Healthier people mean a more productive workforce.
Fewer sick days, basically.
Fewer sick days, absolutely. But also, people being able to work longer, stay engaged in the workforce for more years. Think about treatments for chronic diseases. Again, they let people manage conditions and keep working, keep contributing.
Right.
Vaccines, too. Less infectious disease spreading means fewer lost workdays across the board. Higher productivity overall.
And it's not just medicines, right? Medical tech plays a role, too.
For sure. Things like minimally invasive surgery mean quicker recovery times. Wearable health monitors help manage conditions by it. It all contributes. Some studies suggest recent drug innovation alone led to millions more workdays, adding up to hundreds of billions in annual wages.
Wow.
And looking historically, big picture, health improvements are thought to be responsible for maybe a third of all economic growth in developed countries over the last century.
A third. That's fundamental.
It really shows that investing in health is, in many ways, investing in the economy itself.
So looking ahead now, what's the future economic potential here? Are specific areas looking especially strong?
The projections are definitely optimistic. The U.S. biopharma market, for instance, could hit $115.5 billion by 2035. Globally, that market might reach $1.18 trillion by 2032.
Huge numbers.
Yeah. And the U.S. biotechnology market is expected to grow really fast, maybe $1.79 trillion by 2033. Medical devices also strong, forecast to hit $1.3 trillion by 2029.
So growth across the board seems likely.
It really underscores the dynamism, But it hinges on continued investment, obviously. That's what fuels the innovation pipeline for better health and continued economic growth. And there's also this growing understanding, the economic benefits we could get from tackling health inequities through research. Some estimates suggest closing those gaps could add trillions to the U.S. GDP by 2040.
Trillions just from addressing health equity. That's a powerful economic argument, too. Okay, last big comparison point. How does the ROI from biomedical research stack up against other kinds of investments? Is it a good deal, relatively speaking?
It generally compares very well. Studies often find returns from public biomedical research exceed the typical, say, 6-8% you might see from broader public investments.
Okay.
We keep coming back to that NIH multiplier, 2.56 for 2024. That's pretty substantial compared to a lot of government spending.
Right.
And then you have the outliers, like the Human Genome Project's 141-fold return. That just blows typical tech sector returns out of the water for a similar period.
It really puts it in perspective. What about within the biomedical world? Like biotech versus big pharma, different return profiles.
Generally, yeah, there are differences. Biotech tends to be more R&D intensive, more focused on early stage discovery.
Higher risk, maybe?
Higher risk for individual companies, sure. But that research focus also means potentially huge breakthroughs and massive returns if they succeed. You see it in venture capital. A good chunk of biotech investments yield returns over 5x, which is right up there with hot tech sectors.
Interesting. So, despite the risks, the potential payoff is really high. Are there key things that influence whether these investments ultimately succeed economically?
Oh, definitely. Several factors are key. One is the long time horizon. Basic science can take many years to become a product.
Patience is needed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then there's inherent research risk. Not everything works out. And the regulatory environment is crucial. Getting FDA approval, for example, that's a major gatekeeper affecting timelines and viability.
Right, the whole approval process.
Understanding all these factors, the timelines, the risks, the regulations, is really vital for making smart investments and maximizing the economic benefits we get from biomedical science.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. After this deep dive, all this data, what's the main takeaway? The core message about the economic return on biomedical science in the U.S.
I think the central point is just the really compelling evidence that investing in biomedical science yields a significant economic return for the country.
Right.
It's not just about the absolutely critical improvements in health and longer lives.
Which are paramount, of course.
Paramount, exactly. But it's also about building a stronger economy through creating lots of good jobs, boosting the GDP significantly, and potentially saving a lot on healthcare costs down the road. It really does pay dividends on multiple fronts.
So, given these impressive returns, these dual benefits, it really makes you think, doesn't it? How should we be thinking strategically about prioritizing and, crucially, sustaining investment in biomedical research? For our health, yes, but also for the nation's long-term economic prosperity. And maybe, are there overlooked areas, nooks and crannies in research that might hold the key to the next big breakthroughs, the ones with massive health and economic impacts? Definitely something critical to consider. Thanks for digging into this with me today.